Good afternoon, everyone. It's exciting, actually, to introduce our two guests today. They've, the startup community for startup companies in Peoria really kind of, I think, hit a lull maybe over the last 20 years. And if you've been downtown to the old ICC campus, you can see that the state of Illinois and the city of Peoria has really made a concerted effort, and a lot of money has been put into trying to revitalize the startup community and the entrepreneurial spirit here in Peoria. And so two of the individuals that are here today are leading our efforts in being really the leaders of that. And it's Doug Cruitt and Danielle Scarzello. Doug is the executive director of the Distillery Labs, and he's been down there since July of 2023. He's a founder of 7 startup companies, and so he knows what he's doing when we talk about the startup world and the entrepreneurs that are required to get the companies up and rolling. He's a graduate of the University of Illinois and an MBA from Governor's State University. So, Doug, we look forward to your presentation. Danielle Scarzello, she runs the Generator program. So the Generator program is what I'd say is the education that is provided to the founders of these startup companies. They have an office in the Distillery Labs, and it's really getting that, I guess, ecosystem in Peoria up and running. And Danielle has her degree from the University of Northern Colorado, and she's been down there for a couple years as well. So let's give a warm welcome to Doug first, and then Danielle. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Appreciate the invite, and thank you all for letting us both come and talk about what's going on downtown here. And apologies on the front end for those of you that thought you were coming here to maybe taste test something else. Sorry, Mark. I know.
There's always later.
Always later. That's right. And we get this question a lot, and at least once a week we are disappointing someone that walks in our door looking for something to take the edge off at the end of the day. But really it's paying homage back to our recognition in this region as being the distilling capital of the world. Many of you probably already know this, but way back in the mid-1800s, we had 80 plus distilleries right here in Peoria, thanks to the San Cody Aquifer, which is limestone filtered water, thanks to the world's greatest soil, where we could grow the grains, thanks to the Illinois River for transportation. And so that's where that name comes from. And again, we do get that question a lot. So what is our mission? Since we don't make alcohol, what do we do? We're here to connect people to the resources they need. And simply put, we serve and support founders, small business owners, and those that are just within the ecosystem, which is a term I'll use a lot here in a little bit. So as Kurt mentioned, downtown, we're in the old ICC building. So that's Fulton right there, Fulton and Adams. It's 30,000 square foot of what we renovated. $12 million in total funding from the EDA and also the Capital Development Board. And the reason we were able to get this money, it's really like a lot of overnight successes. This was 12 years in the making. It started with the feasibility study funded by Caterpillar. Is this community a good one to create a co-working space, an incubator, an innovation hub? And the answer was yes. And then it took years to figure out, okay, now what do we do with that? And so we have something called the Illinois Innovation Network, which I'll just go ahead and hop forward to this. So the state created this about 6 or 7 years ago. It was meant to connect all the academic institutions, the public universities, with the large corporations, with the mad scientists that are in their garage tinkering on the next great thing. to really set Illinois apart as a state of innovation and technology. So 15 hubs were created, and if you'll notice, all those other hubs are tied to a public university. There is only one hub throughout the whole state that is truly founder-focused, founder-led, and is accessible to the entire community. All these other locations are on a university campus, run by university folks. Not that that's a bad thing, although it can be restrictive, which is why we were not the first to get the funds, but we were the first to execute, the first to open, and second place is about 3 years away. So whenever we had the president of the entire U of I system come to visit, the first question you ask is, how the heck did you do it? And then we said, that's it. We're Peoria, we do things, we just don't talk about them, and then meet again a month later, and then talk about them, and then meet again the next month and talk about them. So we're here to execute things, not just the opening of our building at Distillery Labs, but also your business, your ideas. So when we talk about an ecosystem, it's a super complex thing, right? It's adaptive, whether it's a startup ecosystem or one out in nature. Something new is introduced into that ecosystem, it affects all these other things. Something leaves that ecosystem, it affects that as well. So we're here to nurture that and help people navigate through that ecosystem. I mentioned 30,000 square foot is what we renovated. We actually have 20,000 square foot in the basement that we haven't touched. If anybody, did anybody take classes in this building way back in the day? If you want to feel nostalgic, $5 at the door, we'll let you go into the basement. And it's still 1997 ICC classrooms down there. So we're a co-working space. So when we think about it, really there's a top of the funnel. We want to know you exist in the community, that you have an idea, that you either want to be a founder or you want to support a founder as a subject matter expert, or you want to fund somebody else's idea. We want you to be able to come into our space. So we have our big coffee shop cafe area where anybody can walk in. Currently, we're transitioning to a new operator out of that space, so stay tuned on that. But it's a place for anybody off the street between 8 and 5. You can walk in, you can come and engage and have meetings there. But a majority of the space is targeted towards co-working. So this is open desk seating to where you don't have an office, you don't have a dedicated desk. Probably shouldn't put your favorite pen or pencil on that desk because that'll get stolen. Don't put your kids' pictures on it. When we're at capacity, we'll have about 180 co-working memberships, which what that equates to is around 80 different startups, every industry, every stage of the journey. And then, which I'll talk about in a little bit there. We also have makerspace. So currently, as we speak, downtown right now, 3D printer in our makerspace is spending 100 hours printing off a full-size mock-up of a humanoid that has a bionic foot. So you talk about Iron Man, and this is what I love about my job is you get to ask the founders why. Why did you want to start it? So we currently have a company called HuMod that's down there that's created this AI-enabled actuator bionic foot and ankle. So it uses AI to have a more natural step. 3 co-founders. You ask one co-founder, why did you do this? Well, his dad's a 2-star general, and he knows these veterans come back with lost limbs, so that's awesome. You ask the other co-founder, my favorite movie was Iron Man, and I want to be Tony Stark, so this is how I'm starting, is making a robotic foot and ankle, and then we'll go from there. Which is just super cool. We also have a podcast studio, photography studio, and an amazing commercial kitchen, which I don't recall if we have a picture of that on here. We don't, I don't think. Yeah, come in person and see it. So this is where we have this beautiful space, 80 different startups, every industry, every stage of the journey. We literally have a company that connects actors and actresses with birthday parties to dress up as Elsa. And they're crushing it because they do a lot of other things as well. And then we have this AI-enabled bionic foot. And then we have someone that's focused on rolling out small modular nuclear reactors to power up cities. And they're rolling that across the country to take this military technology that's been around in submarines for 75 years. How do we power these data centers? And a lot of things in between as well. And so what if in this building where you have 80 different startups at any given time that are coming in wanting to take their idea and turn it into a business plan to help grow our economy, retain talent? What if we also had the Women's Business Development Center? What if we had the GPEDC, the Peoria Chamber of Commerce? What if we had Generator, which is an international venture capital firm that you'll hear from in a second? What if we had OSF Innovation, SCORE Mentors, Hispanic Chamber, Black Chamber, Minority Business Development, Small Business Development, ICC, UBComp, Bradley, U of I Chicago? What if all those were also in that same building? What could we do? And then that's the ecosystem. That is what we've built and we are building. All those entities are engaged in this ecosystem because we truly believe in what we call curated serendipity. Some people call it happy collisions. It's whatever you want to call it. It's how do we get a diverse group of people into a building or into an event or into a program where they can learn from each other. And we already have very tangible results that prove that having a building matters, being intentional about who we get into the building. We also have Strictly Hip Hop, 90.7. They broadcast out of there. We also have our area's first Hispanic-speaking radio station. They broadcast out of there. So it's all these things that are mixing together, and that creates our ecosystem, which is super complex. This is an old chart that we use as inspiration. Like, as a founder, Curt mentioned I've founded multiple companies. This shit's complex. If I walk into a building and I don't know where to go, it's the same thing. You walk into an ecosystem. So we're very focused on how to make that navigation piece easier. We also want to bring in a bunch of technology so that people from the outside, people from the inside, we know what we're doing, where we stand, if we benchmark ourselves against other great startup communities. Because no exaggeration here, we can and we will be one of the top 25 greatest startup communities in the world. We know the metrics that we need to hit. We know how to get there. We know that we can't control everything because no one controls an ecosystem. But if we're intentional about laying out some of these foundational things, we're going to focus on founder mindset. We're going to focus on the fear of failure. We're going to start to chip away at these things so that our youth that are growing up, they're going to be a little bit more likely to take a calculated risk because they see that the generation before them that stood up and they took a swing at it. They might have missed, but you know what? They got back up. And over time, that's where this confidence is going to grow. And you couple that with what already exists here, which is super smart people, a lot of different resources. Per capita, I believe we give back to nonprofits better. I think I've heard Mark Roberts say this before, more than any other city in the country. So we're chipping away at this slowly, and it truly is a group effort. What we say is that, we're going to skip to this because Danielle's going to talk about it, is we're going to remove the ego. Silos exist. We understand that. Sometimes those are good things. Sometimes those are not so good things. But for us, it's remove the ego, focus on the founder. That's all that matters. If we're focusing on delivering value to the founder, whether it's something that is a Distillery Labs event, or maybe it's some organization's event, that's fine. We're going to do that. Let's create a culture of give first, give back. So we're already seeing this. I mentioned the 3D printer that's running downtown right now, building this humanoid. That's one of our startups' equipment. They went out, they raised the capital, they got the equipment, they put it in our makerspace to be shared with other startups. They're pre-rev, they don't have any revenue, but yet they're doing that. And so it's that culture, that mentality that we're going to keep, let's put a spotlight on that so that the next generation will see that. And it might take a decade or more, but eventually we're going to crack that top 25. And I was telling Curt earlier, Philadelphia, they just cracked the top 25. If Philadelphia, nothing against them. Philadelphia can do it, Peoria can do it, no doubt about it. And then combine that with the power of tapping into the Illinois Innovation Network with all the research that goes on at all these universities. They are looking at Peoria to say, well, how do you do this for the community? Because we do it for our students, we do it for our faculty. But they're seeing our companies win pitch competitions on a national scale and saying, what the heck are you doing in Peoria? Well, it's this ecosystem. It's this give first, give back mentality. How to get involved, check our socials, as the kids say. We have a lot of new things coming out in 2025. So just keep an eye out for that. We're always looking for mentors, which I know Danielle is probably going to make the ask as well. If you want to get involved, show up, reach out to myself. Got my email address right there. Would love to connect over coffee, just talk about how we can get you involved. If you have an idea, that's my favorite part of the job, is talking to founders or aspiring founders, how we can help you execute on what you want to do. And then with that, I think we'll turn it over to Danielle and then open it up to Q&A, if that's okay.
It takes a village, isn't it?
I don't think I hit that. Hold on.
I sure did.
There you go.
Hold that though.
Heckling over you.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
far.
jeez. Jeff, come on.
Here we go. All right. So the program I run is called G Beta. That is what is coming up. It is a free 7-week accelerator program where we choose 5 companies at a time to work with. We select 5 intentionally. This is high-level concierge programming. We're able to give our most attention and focus to 5 companies rather than 10. You know, you're working within similar verticals sometimes, but also you're able to really give that attention that those 5 companies really need in a much more impactful manner. So we do that through 2 weekly meetings, 1 hour each for 6 weeks. We have a lunch and learn every single week where we have a business topic that we cover. We do something called a mentor swarm, and this is where I am calling for more mentors in the community. If you are a subject matter expert, you know, or let's say you're gifted in the knowledge of HR, accounting, being a startup lawyer, looking for all of these different types of mentors. Or if you just have a skill set and you're not sure if you would be a great mentor, I would love to chat. But essentially, these mentor swarms are 2 hours at a time. You only have to do this once. It would be your opportunity to meet with the 5 founders and speak with them for 20 minutes and see what do they need help with, what resources can I share that may benefit their idea or their business, and if I don't have those, who do I know in my own network that might? We also do a showcase event, which was pictured in one of Doug's slides earlier about building the ecosystem. This is our community event for the 5 founders to present what they've been working so hard on and hopefully attract some attention from the community and support. And then the last week, week 7, is called Investor Swarm. So if you've ever seen Shark Tank, it's essentially that, but on Zoom. So I'm getting these 5 startups to present to a minimum of 25 different investors. They may walk away with a check. They may walk away with the practice of pitching to 25 investors. The idea is practice and exposure. The more you do something, the better you get at it. You may be incredibly talented at building the business or the startup that you have, but you may not be really good at messaging it or presenting it. So that is something we work very heavily on. So a snapshot in time, just to see what is this program, is it effective? When I first started in 2023, I believe, let's go back in time, maybe 2022, we had raised $27,500 for our alumni startups collectively. That's not a lot of money. To date, we have actually gone over the $2 million mark. We have worked with over 29 companies at this point that have created 58 jobs. And if you are a startup, this is big. It takes a lot to even get to $1 sold, not to mention $1 raised. So it's a team effort, but we're finally getting some momentum here. And we have some really, really talented founders that we've worked with. So a few highlights. Bank Tank. This is something that is coming up next week, February 19th. We are hosting it at Distillery Labs this time. The last 2 years, we've had to drive about an hour and a half away. And then we sort of had a fun conversation with the Bank Tank team and said, you know, Peoria is kind of dominating this competition. How about you bring it here? And they love the idea. So each of the years, we've had at least 3 companies minimum from Peoria. This go around, all 4 companies are coming from Peoria, and 3 of them have come through our G Alpha and or G Beta programs. I've also had the pleasure to be able to lead a panel for women in leadership about female entrepreneurship and representing the undervalued founder. We've been able to have companies go from idea to actually piloting something. So, you know, you have a drawing of what you think could be really cool to now you're holding a tangible product in your hand, or you're having that software run for the first time. We've had some of our founders pilot their ideas through programs like SIL, Central Illinois Living Laboratories, where we're working on smart communities and testing new technology all the time. And it's been such a pleasure working with these founders and being able to coach and cheerlead people from an idea to an actual reality. And our founders can range anywhere from the youngest I worked with was 17, and the oldest, I won't disclose an age, but let's just say they've been working on the tech for 30 years. So there's a big range of people that have ideas and talent, and we're here to support all of them. And so my ask is that we do have our upcoming G Beta program, and the application for that closes February 28th. So we have a little bit of time left. We're seeing some really talented founders apply. But honestly, I would love to see more. I would love to see more people apply that maybe it's just an idea at this stage, or maybe it's something you've actually been building for a while and you're wondering, is this a viable business? And so I would encourage you to apply and interview and get some feedback from us. You don't actually know if it's a good idea until you get some feedback on it, right? So you can find that application at distillerylabs.org. Like I said, it is a 7-week program, so that will run from the end of March until mid-May. And then sometime this summer, we will have a showcase event where the community will be open to attend and see what we've been working on and what those 5 companies have been working on. So I'd love to open it up for questions if we do have time.
Nope, he said no.
Could you share some of the winners of the last couple bank tanks?
Yeah, so let's see, the first bank tank, the winner was Color Forge, which is creating a 3D printed powder makeup that is totally customizable to you and your skin tone. Last year's winner is Lux Blocks, a company out of Galesburg that is creating a STEM-related toy, very similar to Lego, but actually very not similar to Lego in the fact that they are modeled after nature's geometrical designs. And we're really just crossing our fingers for this year's winner to be selfishly a G Beta or a G Alpha.
Thank you guys for your presentation today. Since we have some students in the audience, could you talk about it's slices and something? I've been seeing it on social media, but could you share what that is?
Yeah, Slices and Startups, and thank you for asking about that. That is next Thursday, the 20th. I will also be hosting an Ask Me Anything session about G Beta, same time, same place. So Slices and Startups is geared towards young minds, students, youth, college students, or young at heart. And so we have pizza provided, and we're just really trying to encourage those to think entrepreneurially and explore being curious with your ideas and talking about failure and how it's really not that bad. Everyone can live through failure, not everyone learns from it.
So question, so the founders do not pay any fee to use the facility? Does the city take care of those expenses? The second question is there still Peoria-Next Innovation Center, and how are they different? Or do you coordinate?
So we're going to pass a basket around, so we'll collect it all. No, so great question. All of our events are free. Slices and Startups, that's free. Our accelerator program, that's free. What we do charge is for a startup to have a co-working membership, which is entry level is $175 if you generate 50,000 in revenue or less. We consider that a startup. So for $175 a month, it's month to month. You have access to 30,000 square foot. You just don't have your own office or your own desk. However, you have access to reserve conference rooms bigger than this to host meetings in. And that's included in that 175 to 12 hours a month. We are supported by the city. We're supported by OSF Innovation. We're supported by the county. Our programming, we have great support from INB, Hanson Professional Services, OSF, and Atolo. So they support that programming. So it's no cost. And then what was the second part of the question?
Peoria Next.
Peoria Next, yes, they do exist. We're part of the same ecosystem, right? The gentleman that runs Peoria Next now, Chris Youngmark, he's a G-Beta alum. He's working on his startup. We're dear friends, and we are working together to create less complexity in navigating the ecosystem. Now, they have wet lab services, which we don't have, so that's where like Midwest Bioprocessing and Velocity Labs, they could not be in Distillery Labs, but they can be at Peoria Next. Their co-working space, I think they have 7 spots, maybe. And so it's a little bit different model. They don't have a lot of programming yet, although I know Chris is working on that. So it's a collaboration to where, if someone comes to us and they say, we need wet lab space, go up the hill. They're there. But a very important part of the ecosystem. I know they've been around for a while as well. Had some great success stories come out of there. And, we're going to continue to work with them for sure.
I'll just yell it out. I've heard you talk several times about Fail Club. Tell us about it, because I love the concept of it. Tell us about Fail Club.
Yeah, so, I have had massive failures as a startup founder. Having young kids and a wife, and it's like the mental toll is hard. The highs are high and the lows are low if you're a startup entrepreneur. And that's something that any other innovation hub I've been involved in, they don't talk about it. And so what we want to do is put a spotlight on it. It exists. You cannot deny it. You can't put it in a shadow and pretend it's not there. It's there. You might be on a high now, but you're going to be on a low at some point in time. And you need to have a framework in your own mind on how you as an individual can deal with that. So Fail Club is something where it's once a month. We usually have 2 speakers that will come and stand up and, hey, I'm Doug, I'm a failure, let me tell you why. And we sell it as if walk away with tangible results. And so we ask our speakers, what was your vision? How is it going? When and how did the wheels fall off? And what are 3 things you would do differently? So that way, as somebody in the audience, you walk away and like, God, Doug should have done better customer discovery or had a stronger contract with his friends and family investor. He should have removed his ego and as a 20-something not been so arrogant. All these things. And that's great for that person in the audience, but the real reason we do it, Mark, is 20 years from now. If we are chipping away at this now and we get the next generation to start to attend this, and if we dial down the fear of failure as a community, say it's at a 9.2, if we dial it down to an 8.7, just think what that does over decades of time. And it starts to build like a snowball momentum. So that's the long game, is changing that framework and the mindset of those young, curious minds that we have. So if you're great at failing, let me know. It's one of those weird asks. Yeah, you walk up, hey, actually, you're great at failing. You want to come and help out? Absolutely. Any other questions for Danielle? Yes.
How do you support or retain all of this talent that we're attracting to Peoria after they're no longer a startup?
Yeah, awesome question. So we will literally kick you out after 3 years. That's it. So what we want to do is, we are an innovation hub. That's the heart of what we are. So we want to create wraparound services. First, we need to know you exist. Second, we need to have a conversation to meet you where you are. 3, we use that navigation piece to get you to where you want to go. As a community that's investing in Distillery Labs, that's investing in its people, within 3 years' time, we know, for the most part, is this going to take off? So within 3 years, mutually, we've decided that, listen, this isn't going to work for whatever reason. What will happen most of the time, though, is, great, you've gone from a team of 1 or 2 to now you have 3 or 4 people on your staff. You're too big for us. We have that co-working model, so we need that turnover. And what we need to do as a community, and it's not just a downtown Peoria thing, that's where the building is, so there'll be a natural gravitational pull to there, but is getting you to where you need to go. If you need, manufacturing, if you need supply chain, if you need massive warehouse space, like, we need to get you to what you need to do. But it's also, you have the warehouse district, we have baseball stadium, we have all these cool things downtown, and it's building this momentum. Now we're a part of that story. It happened long before Distillery Labs, but now we're part of that too. So, like, we just signed a MOU with UEComp, so their students and learners will be able to come down a lot more often. A lot of high school things, FFA programs coming through with 100 and some students. With Visitor Center, we had 6,000 high school students walk by us last week, a bunch of music students or something were in town. Like, we want to draw that in, so it's creating a vibrant place to go, and we're just one small part of that, though.
I think I can be heard if I speak loud enough. Am I correct in assuming that you guys work with for-profit founders only and not-for-profit?
We work with everybody. Sometimes work with means, hey, I don't know exactly what you need, but let me introduce you. Let me help you navigate the ecosystem. So that's where I rattled off a bunch of names and acronyms earlier. Like, we remove the ego. It's not about what we do, because what we do is to help you navigate the ecosystem. So we can get you in front of a similar nonprofit. But with our Wednesday workshops, we have nonprofit grant writers will come and speak for an hour. We try to work with everybody, but it's really defining what does work mean. Naturally, a lot of what we do see is for profit, people that are looking to build their own side hustle, from event stuff, again, to large language model, AI stuff.
I'll jump in super quick. The G-Beta program is not ideal for a nonprofit. We are looking for companies that want to take investment. Therefore, you have to give a return on that investment. So G-Alpha absolutely could be for a nonprofit. We'll have that in the fall of this year, but G-Beta is not profit, nonprofit, not friendly.